What is going on, everybody? We are back for a brand new episode of Behind the Visor. Episode 3, Luca. I mean, it can't get more consistent than 3 episodes. I mean, what do they say? 1 time is luck, 2 times is coincidence. After 3 times, it's like a law or something like that. So I think we got something going here. But man, just super excited to be back for episode 3.
Yeah, no, and episode 3 marks the kickoff of finally dishing out some of those upper deck cards that I know everyone was so interested about getting their hands on. The S&P, that's not a cheap box that we got there, and obviously we're going to be giving it away, just kind of giving back to everyone who's supported so far. Obviously, you saw on the Instagram and all of our socials that we have a giveaway going, and it is one of those S&P boxes. So we'll be breaking it for the winner to be announced later in this episode, and we'll kind of see what they won. And then today also marks the first ever behind the visor hobby box break. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll be giving those cards away. And again, if you want these cards in the future, you just got to follow on the social and listen along. It's at Behind the Visor on Instagram and Twitter, and then Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. You know where to find us. And episode 3, episode 4, you can probably expect a week from today as well, as we get that consistency going.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know where you can find these videos. Always on our YouTube channel, Stavros, Katsantonis, under the podcast section. That's where the exclusive video version is hosted at, and then obviously wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, the rock that posts or whatever, wherever you get it, under a rock, under a bed, under a mattress. Podcasts are posted everywhere nowadays, and we are there. So make sure you guys check that out, follow us along, give us some nice reviews. But with that being said, Luca, I think we head into our kind of first segment here, and it's the impact of Canadians in the NFL. Obviously, we've seen kind of most recently my alma mater, UBC, hosting another pro day with, I think, over 16 teams in attendance, a bunch of NFL teams, a bunch of CFL teams for those, 2 giant, bookend O linemen that they have out there. But kind of what are we seeing moving towards, I guess, this new era? Obviously, this isn't something new with NFL pro days for Canadians, but is that something new that we're seeing, I guess, on your end from kind of what you've seen around the U Sports sphere? Are pro days something that we could see happening more often and more NFL teams coming north?
Well, that's the thing, is we had chatted about it on the last episode, just talking about how with the emergence of these great Canadian guys like a Brady Oliveira, and I feel like he's been mentioned every single episode, but he's one of the best, if not the best, running backs in the league. So it makes sense as to why where he's so constantly brought up. But I think as we see more Canadian talent, and as the gap kind of closes, and you see it with just how many guys are going from the CFL to the NFL. As that gap closes, I think we'll start to see more pro days, because I didn't realize this until a couple of years back, but it's not a pro day for CFL teams. It's a pro day for NFL teams that CFL teams like to come watch, because you can never scout someone too much. So you have these NFL caliber guys who are putting on the pro day, and it's cool to see. Oh, the Dallas Cowboys are on the UBC campus, or the Miami Dolphins went to Laval, which is just a sentence that is insane to say, and on the surface it doesn't make any sense. But having these pro days, and as the gap continues to close, I do think we see more pro days, because there are more NFL guys and NFL caliber guys that we're seeing kind of in the NCAA. And we talked about with Benjamin LeBrose, he was at Syracuse and then came back to McGill. So it's not a matter of if we'll see more pro days, but it's a matter of kind of when. And as Canadian schools kind of get stronger and become more talent rich, I think we'll see quite a bit of pro days. And I know CFL teams are going to jump at that opportunity to kind of scout these guys, because should, for whatever reason, it not work out in the NFL, or not keen on the NFL. We saw with Joel DeBlanco, like, he was in the NFL and he decided to kind of come home. I use in air quotes, but he's coming back to Canada. So having that pro day scouting, it's not like this guy's coming in you're kind of blind, and you kind of just have to base it off of, okay, well, this is what he did at Cincinnati, this is what he did at the preseason. So
Right.
it's not out of the ordinary to see pro days. I mean, Laval kind of started the pro day in Canada, and as it grows, I think we'll just continue to see more and more NFL teams make their way up north and take in some Canadian talent in a Canadian setting, which I think is important.
Right. Yeah, I think the thing that I've kind of seen, right, you see on social media, and there's always someone that wants to be negative about it, or not someone, but there's always a decent amount of people, the crop that says, oh, because I know UBC is really marketing it hard and as they should for recruiting, but marketing hard as like, hey, we're one of the only schools that are running an NFL Pro Day, which obviously there's two sides to that. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, the only reason any NFL teams are there is because you have two NFL caliber players. But I mean, that's kind of the point. And obviously you've seen it in years past with the University of Laval with I think Eclair, the tight end that played just recently retired, but played a lengthy career down in the NFL. Matthew Betts, obviously with Laval, I'm pretty sure they had some NFL guys at their pro day that 2019 year. I mean, obviously, we were no stranger to it. My final year at UBC, we had, for Michael O'Connor and some of the guys that we had there, we had, well, I mean, one scout is better than none. I mean, to say, hey, yeah, we only had the Seattle Seahawks there, but I mean, how many other U Sport teams could garner just one NFL scout to come and watch you do a pro day? And then obviously going back even further to David Onyemata, who had, I think, over 15 or 20 teams at his pro day. So, yes, there are other schools that are doing it, but I mean, how many other schools are doing it on a consistent basis? I think UBC had, in 2016 we had one, in 2019 they had one, and then just this past year they have a whopping, like, I think, what was it, 15 or 16 NFL teams maybe or something like that. But I mean, if you're a coach and you're a recruiter, like, why are you not going to market that? Like, what other schools are having, those consistent pro days? And I know the age-old thing was like, oh, if every U Sport school has NFL caliber players, like, there'll be an NFL scout there. But as of right now, they haven't. And UBC has been one of those consistent teams, along with Laval. Manitoba, I think, also had Jeff Gray a few years ago, offensive lineman. But at the end of the day, negativity aside, I think the only thing we can look at is this as being a positive thing of, hey, look, NFL teams are starting to take Canadians seriously from the U Sport level. And I know, one of the biggest things when I was coming out that always kind of got told to me through, my agent and even now to this day, it's, hey, like, NFL teams do not look at U Sports as competitive at all. Most of them are looking at it as maybe comparison to Division III down in the US. So to just break those barriers of, to have that many scouts come, they have to be taking at least another look at it, saying, hey, these guys can actually compete. I mean, the current guy that comes to mind right now is obviously Dakota Shepley, who's with the Dallas Cowboys. And obviously, he didn't have his own pro day, did everything the right way through the CFL combine, ended up getting a NFL, futures deal with the Jets, went to training camp with them, didn't make it through, but continued to pursue the NFL and has stayed there for a long time. He's currently with the Dallas Cowboys, been on a few different teams, but I mean, that's your proof right there. How many other U Sport universities are being represented down in the NFL? I'm sure there's a list out there. Obviously guys like, I think Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who just retired. But, when you look at UBC, all those coaches are now saying, hey, this guy's been in the league for a couple years now. Like, they must be doing something right at UBC. So, again, if I was that coaching staff, I'd be, marketing the heck out of it, especially with these two big O linemen that, from everything that I've been reading online and hearing from the media, both on both sides of the border, is saying that these guys are for sure either going to be drafted or going to sign undrafted free agent deals. So you just don't have freak size like that and not have some sort of look at the end of the day. But let's not also think about, the guys that maybe have fallen through the cracks in the CFL. Yes, the CFL teams will get to see them, but all it takes is one of those guys to blaze a 4.3 or 4.4, and you don't think an NFL team is going to look and be like, all right, well, maybe this guy can play special teams, and we're going to bring him down here. So I think any optics is good optics. for the guys that are participating, and it'll only grow. So I really hope that it does grow and more teams do it. Obviously, as you have more genetic freaks that garner that interest, but I think it really helps for guys like myself for that fall through the cracks, and you just need one shot, and maybe that's your day where you run that 4-3 or 4-4, and who knows, could change your life forever, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of the stigma around Canadian football and how youth sports is kind of viewed as D3, and you also mentioned Matthew Betts, and obviously he's no longer a CFL player. We wish him well in the NFL, but I'm
Yeah.
sure every offense in the league is happy that he's gone and won't have to deal
Yeah.
with him and his 18 sacks. But I wanted to bring up, because Brad Holmes, GM of the Detroit Lions, to specify, not the BC Lions, he kind of he was very complimentary when he was asked about kind of this signing, and it was a bit unheralded. It's an older defensive end, no NFL experience, but obviously he had 18 sacks and was the defensive player of the year in the CFL. So he's doing something right, evidently.
Right.
But the way that he kind of phrased talking about signing Matthew Betts, and he was concerned because yes, it was 18 sacks, and then he made a comment about how it was lesser competition.
Mm.
From your point of view, is that, first of all, why, like, as a player, if you're hearing that from the GM that signed you, like, that can't be, it can be motivating, but it's also unmotivating in a way, because it's like, oh, does this guy even believe in me? And at the same
Right.
time, does this just continue the stigma against Canadian football? And is there really anything that Canadians can do to help put the CFL and youth sports and Canadian football on the map if American GMs are kind of just viewing it as, oh, this is the lesser league and it's not even really a feeder? It's, we're taking a chance on this guy in spite of where he played, as opposed to, this is a guy who had 18 sacks in a professional football league. He can
Right.
play ball.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, it's obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion at the end of the day, and again, you're talking about a organization and a league that is seeded with billions and billions of dollars. So there's decision, you make the wrong decision, it could cost you your job, right? So I get where he's coming from, and his stance on the lesser competition, but I mean, how seamlessly has a guy like D'Alford, from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who played one season up here and has been almost like, unnoticeable in terms of how he's transitioned into the NFL with the Falcons. Was there any conversation of his lesser competition when he locked it down in one season? I mean, we got to remember, Matthew Betts has been playing for like 4 or 5 years now. So, I mean, if there's any, like, I guess, comparison, like when you take a shot on a guy that's only played 1 year in the CFL, and there's that's always going to be the thing. Oh, will the competition, be lesser in the CFL? Will he be able to transition? But obviously there's so much history, even with U Sport guys that have gone from U Sports. Look at Anthony Eclair, who played with the Houston Texans, played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, you're talking about a guy that played in U Sports, and I'm sure there was talks about the competitive level, at the college level in Canada, and this guy will never make it. This guy hasn't faced, Power 5 dudes or anything like that. But look at how long he lasted in the league. Look at, Dakota Shepley. Look at, D'Alford, and now you got Qwantez Stiggers, who is supposed to be could be a day one draft pick potentially, with kind of all the interest he's garnered. And then even look at Cameron Wake, who played for the BC Lions and went down and tore it up in the NFL. So I get like where he's coming from, but the history would say that the CFL's competition level is right up there. I mean, it's definitely tier 2 to the NFL, as we've kind of seen, but my whole thing is, you have so many guys that have played in the NFL that are in the CFL, and almost all of them say all of us could be on, a roster in the NFL. It just is a numbers game, and that numbers also factors into age, right? There's so many guys that are coming out of the NCAA nowadays that are, 22, 21, and yeah, they might be the same or not as good as the 28-year-old, but it comes down to the money too, right? These guys are, as opposed to having to pay $2 million a year or $3 million a year to a veteran player, oh, I only got to pay him $500,000, the rookie minimum. All right, yeah, that's an easy decision. He may not be as good, but we're going to develop him. And we all have a shelf life in this league, where in all the leagues where, it's average 3.5 years, 3 years before rosters are turned over. And I think for me, that was one of the, I guess, kind of like awakening things. I think coming out my college year, I was really thinking, oh, this is going to be, and obviously it's different now because I've been playing a little bit longer. But when you first get into those kind of combine situations, they tell you, hey, the average NFL roster turnover is, turned over in about 3 years. Like most of the guys aren't on the same teams or aren't in the league. So when you start to put that into perspective too, it's like, yeah, these guys are still good enough to play, but unfortunately they just kind of get phased out due to the evolution of the game and how it works. But I don't think Betts is going to have any problem transitioning down there. I think the only thing he might have a tough time with is just the position that they play him at. Because that they do have, in the NFL, with the way the game is played down there, you do have more of that stand-up end linebacker where you might need him to drop into coverage. But I mean, Betts is athletic enough. 15 sacks, double-digit sacks is just, in any league, is really hard to do. So I think his maybe opinion of the competition of the level of competition in the CFL is maybe a little bit too, I guess, strong. But I think guys like Betts, guys like Stiggers, guys like Cameron Wake, guys like D'Alford are just going to continue to prove that the crop of talent in the CFL is just as good. And the more U Sport guys we can get in the NFL, the better it is for U Sports and the growth of that. And maybe more Canadians start to think, hey, maybe I'm going to stay home. And if there's a path to the NFL from here, that guys are clearly getting there, they'll make that decision. So I think it'll just it's only good for the league and for the U Sport level as well.
And yeah, you mentioned obviously the biggest story of CFL to NFL right now, and that's Qwantez Stiggers. He's taking top 30 visits. I
Yeah.
mean, this guy didn't play college. When he was kind of coming from fan-controlled football, which honestly, it sounds fake when you say fan-controlled football into a pro league. He kind of came and I don't think anyone was really giving it. He was kind of an unknown guy because he's coming from a non-traditional background. Comes in. I don't know that anyone was even expecting him to make the Argos final roster, maybe as a special teams guy. Comes in, becomes basically CB1 on one of the best teams regular season teams we've seen in CFL history. How does that happen? First of all, is that pathway ever going to be repeated? And just from your experience as a CFL defensive back, like what about his style of play or kind of his path, like what led him to become so good to a point where 2 years ago he's playing in fan controlled football and now he's looking like at least a top 50 pick, if not hearing his name called on the first Thursday of the NFL draft?
Right. Yeah, that was one of the most interesting kind of, I guess, storylines once, at least personally, when I kind of found out about it. Like, hey, this guy's 22. I think it was when I had first saw it I had rewatched a TV copy of, one of the, early games, and they kind of put everyone's, you get the starting lineups, they put their university kind of under their name, and I was like, I think he went to, it's called Best Academy. I was like, Best Academy? Like, what? I've never heard of it. It might be bigger on the East Coast. It might be that type of thing. But I was like, man, this is this has got to be a first where a guy hasn't played college football and has just come straight up here and not only just, I guess done okay, but was the rookie of the year, thrived and, excelled at his position. And like you said, most of the time, especially us, we play Toronto in the preseason and, you get out of the game at, that whatever second quarter or whatever third quarter when kind of they start to put the guys in that they want to see if they can fit in the CFL and see how they're doing. And I don't quite remember if Stiggers was one of those guys or not, but from how we all respond on the sideline, you're chirping all those guys that are in there oh, you make it, if someone makes a mistake or gets a big pass caught on them or anything like that, it's our sideline or even their sideline, vice versa. You're chirping at the guy. I'm like, oh, you might not make the team. And it seems kind of harsh to say that, but that's, that's the business we're in. That's, that's just talking trash at the end of the day. But he could have been one of those guys that we were talking to. I probably not, because obviously he stuck with the team and was making plays enough to get into that starting role. But it is one of those rare things where it's just something I've never seen, like an American guy, and he's so young, right? It's not like he was 24 or 25 and came up here after playing college football and, then got his jump. It's like he was like basically fresh out of high school for the most part after a couple of years, right? He's like 22 years old and just tore it up. But I think his strong suits and the things that he does well is obviously coverage and has a nose for the ball, right? I mean, had, a couple interceptions this year and easily could have been a leader if a few more turned his way, in terms of leading the league in interceptions. But just one of those guys that has a great lockdown coverage ability and just understands the game, and has, just that quick transition time, which is something you'll need at the NFL level too. So I think you can't be anything but excited for him. And again, it doesn't do anything but improve the optics of the CFL, because, I mean, again, this is a different situation where, where a guy like Betts or, guys that have played a little bit in the CFL but have played college and then go to the NFL. But you have a guy that has no college experience, has a year of CFL experience, and now is, like you said, top 30 visits. And again, those GMs are only going to be like, oh, well, this guy must be pretty good, and that competition must be pretty good in the CFL, if we missed this guy or didn't find this guy. So again, it's a rarity for sure. Will it happen again? Maybe not. Maybe it's a once in a blue moon, and we'll never get to talk about a scenario like that again. But again, I can't be anything but excited for that guy, and happy for his success in the CFL, and just wishing him nothing but the best in his NFL journey. And again, his growth in the NFL only helps the CFL and how it looks. So,
and I think that kind of my biggest takeaway from kind of his whole situation is how many guys are we seeing get cut because they had a kind of a 50-yard bomb thrown on them, or they messed up one play in coverage, or obviously it's not that minute.
right.
There's obviously going to be bigger kind of reasons why they would be cut as opposed to one play. But how many of these guys where it's like, all right, he's not very experienced. Maybe he was a career backup at the U Sports level and he got invited to camp because he's an athlete or something like that. And I'm sure there's more of Qwantez Stiggers out there that just didn't get the opportunity. And now who knows where they end up? They could be kind of in a 9-to-5 cubicle job. And it is crazy how one opportunity, fan controlled football, kind of finds this kid, and next thing you know, he's on the Argos rookie of the year. Like, he's a top 30 visit in the NFL. Like he kind of went from a completely unheralded, I don't even know if I would call it a college equivalent, because fan controlled football is like, it's fan controlled. It's not football the way that football is meant to be played.
Almost.
Exactly. So
not to like bash it, but it's just a different type of ball.
Yeah, and he's gone from that to now looking like a pick in the first 2 rounds at minimum. So I mean, it's wild to think about how many guys didn't get an opportunity, or maybe didn't have their best performance in preseason, and are now what could have been NFL careers or long CFL careers or UFL careers are now just not that. So it is a mix of skill, obviously, and talent, and no one's discrediting his talent. I think he was one of the best kind of corners in the league, and he has the accolades to show that. But speaking of guys who were missed or passed over, someone who wasn't missed or passed over, Chase Claypool, 2nd-round pick in the NFL draft. There's been some rumors swirling that he might be looking at a return to Canada. I know Saskatchewan added him to his to their exclusive negotiation list, and while it's probably nothing, and it's probably just, I think it was BC last year added Colin Kaepernick to their exclusive negotiation list, so it's likely nothing will come of it. But how scary would that Riders offense be with Sean Bain on one side and Chase Claypool on the other?
Yeah, I think that would be super interesting. Again, the only thing is, I just don't think it's a actual possibility. I mean, obviously, I've seen both sides. He's the exclusive rights were claimed. And then also I saw, like, this was a few days previous, someone started, like, I guess, like, leaking that information. I saw, like, I think it was NFL Notify on Twitter leak kind of the photo of him, like, cartoonish image of him in, like, a Saskatchewan Roughriders jersey. And I was like, oh, well, April 1st is coming up, so maybe it's just like an April Fool's thing. And then I think April 1st kind of came and went. Someone made, like, again, like a Riders trading card and said that he got signed by them. And I was like, oh, it's April Fool's. Yeah, doesn't happen. And then the next day it's like, oh, you got claimed by, they neg listed him. And what that technically means is, like we said, they just get his exclusive rights to sign him. I don't think he'll come up right away. I mean, you got to think this guy was a top NFL receiver, and has obviously no different than anyone, has went through some trials and tribulations in the league. It's nobody's perfect. And again, to still be in the NFL, is a feat in itself, right? You're talking about less than 1% of football players everywhere are in that league, let alone being able to stick week in and week out. So, I don't think as long as he's played, I don't think it really is that appetizing for him to come up and play. I think he probably still has, some NFL prospects down there. And again, if he does come to Saskatchewan, I think maybe there's some other maybe affiliation that he has there, whether it's family or something like that. I don't know. But again, I think for him to come up to the CFL right away, I just don't see it happening. And again, and all the major, media plays have already kind of said, like, he's not coming. He would go into the fashion industry first before he goes, up to the CFL. And again, this is a brutal sport we play. And when you've made millions of dollars already, to come up to the CFL and make maybe six figures, he's a guy probably that would be able to sign in that, 150 to 200 range as a former NFL guy, and he'd be a starter right away. But to make that, after making millions of dollars, you really got to love football. And I'm not saying Chase Claypool doesn't love football. I'm just saying to play in the CFL for the amount of money that we get paid compared to how they make it in the NFL, you got to really love this game, and it's got to really mean something to you showing up every day, because it's not like, when most guys retire in the CFL, it's not like they're retiring with, a couple $1 million pension or a couple $1 million in the bank. It's, hey, we're either going into coaching or going into our next career path. So again, I don't foresee it happening right away, and I don't have a crystal ball. As my old special teams coach used to say, if I did, I'd be in Vegas. So again, he's a guy who has had nothing but success at the college level, at the high school level, which got him that offer to Notre Dame. And again, he balled out at Notre Dame, balled out when he was in Pittsburgh, and again, had some tough times in Chicago and in Pittsburgh as well. But can't do anything but wish him the best. And again, hopefully he continues to succeed. And if he is in the CFL, again, I want to see him ball and see him, make plays. Obviously not against myself or my team, but a Canadian guy, you can't complain when you see them having success.
Yeah, and speaking of kind of Chase Claypool making his way up to the CFL, is there anyone in the NFL now that, let's say that they can make their NFL salary? And I know there's the old saying about it's hard to wake up for the 5 a.m. runs when you're sleeping in silk sheets. And let's say that there's just a Canadian exodus from the NFL to the CFL. Who would you want to see kind of play in the CFL? Just a guy maybe you admire, or a guy that you just think would be electric on a 110-yard field?
Yeah. Are we speaking in only Canadians, or can I pick a Canadian or American, or like one Canadian, one American maybe? What are my
we'll
rules
say
here?
One Canadian, one American.
One Canadian, one American. Okay, I'm going to leave my Canadian for last because you saved the best for last, right? So American-wise, I think I'll split it in half. I think number one, Tyreek Hill with the waggle, and we've literally seen Miami implement a sort of lateral waggle so he can get that speed, which is within the NFL rules. But imagine him with the waggle. I mean, I can't imagine having to cover a guy like that is legitimate, 4.3 speed in pads, which is different than running a 4.3 with no gear on. But a guy that is legitimate, I think he's been clocked at 26 miles an hour or something like that. which is insane. So a guy like that would be super electric to see in the CFL. Kind of guy like Speedy Banks, would have that return type ability where he could literally run to the sideline because it's so wide and just outrun everybody. You'd almost have to stick like two guys dedicated, just sit him on the sideline to be able to cover him on punt returns. But him for sure. Another American I'd love to see again. Patrick Mahomes. If you could see him on a CFL field in the 3-down game with all the field. He's not obviously not the most. He is mobile, but he's not like he's not like a Michael Vick or a Trey Ford for example. But a guy that can make any throw. So imagine giving Mahomes an extra 10 yards to throw the ball. Going down the field is again another one that I'd love to see and see if he could do anything down or up here. Going into the Canadians, I think Javon Holland is one guy that you would love to see for sure. He's a great DB. Has had nothing but success with the Dolphins. Has made a ton of plays. To see him play free safety up here or play maybe that Sam linebacker because he kind of has that bigger body type where he can get in the box and make those type of plays. I think that would be a cool one. Offensively, man, there's not a whole lot, right, to choose from, but I think is Chase Brown is the running back, right? That's in Cincinnati.
Sydney is the safety.
Yeah, either him or remind me, I don't know why I'm blanking on the kid out of Edmonton with the
Chuba
Panthers. Hubbard, yeah, exactly. So I think between those two running backs, and I think Hubbard was a 4.4 guy, was he not? Or something like that where he had that track speed from when he was in Edmonton. But seeing either of those guys at running back is something that you obviously don't see a lot in the CFL, right? Like true 4.4 Canadian running backs. I know like we talked about last week, the Michael Chris Ike running that 4.5. Again, something that's just not very common when you get in the CFL, but to have some speed running back guys where it's almost like, that D'Anthony Thomas type look where you hand it off and they make one cut and they're up the field and it's, it's nothing but end zone. I think to see some speed guys like that up here and no less Canadians would definitely be cool. Do you have two picks that you'd want to see up here?
For the American side of it, I think Christian McCaffrey is just, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that. And again, with the waggle and I can't imagine McCaffrey on a poor linebacker on a much bigger field. Like, I don't even know how you like defend that. Like it's gotta be borderline impossible. And then, I would love to see like a Lamar Jackson kind of, we have Trey Ford, the US has Lamar Jackson. And I think he would just be like borderline impossible to stop. And here's a little bonus pick is I don't know how, if let's say we can bring up 6 guys, let's bring up the Eagles offensive line and Jalen Hurts. I don't know how you stop the brotherly shove with the 1 yard of space. I think you could just march down the field with those 5 guys and Hurts behind him and just let it go. And then for a Canadian guy, a guy that I've always liked watching for Washington is Benjamin St. Juste. Just long, lanky, just a great cover corner, and I think he would be one of the guys where if he ever made his way up to the CFL, that's one of the, like we talked about last week, that's one of those ratio breaking guys you can play at corner where the depth might not be there, but he's not really a guy that you need depth. I mean, obviously injuries can happen, but he's a kind of a set it and forget it cornerback where he's going to take away your team's best option. And I think he has the athleticism to deal with the waggle. So that would be my pick. I mean, hopefully one day we see maybe a defensive backfield of Stavros Katsantonis, Javon Holland, and Benjamin St. Juste. Maybe that's an all-star team that we can make up one day. But
we might
I think
win
those
5
guys
Grey Cups in a row.
And then we'll just bring up McCaffrey and Lamar Jackson and just see what kind of dynasty will be made. But speaking of guys, week 1 UFL, CFL, not a direct competitor because I think it's more of a feeder league to the NFL and it's claimed as much. But did you watch any of the games? Did you take anything away from it that the CFL does better, that the CFL could take from the UFL, whether that's rules, broadcast, kind of level of play, anything like that?
Yeah, I watched just about every game. Obviously not start to finish, but kind of on my Saturday and Sunday, I peeked around at a couple of the games, and you know, I love football at the end of the day, so I love watching and just seeing. You know, I have a few buddies that are playing in the league right now, ex teammates. So you always want to check in on them, make sure they're doing well, and see how they're playing. But yeah, I'm always a big fan of obviously more football. I know some people are kind of like put off by it, like, oh, I need a break, or you know, that's the whole point of the off season is so we can, you know, take a break, and then our love for the game builds even more with all that time off. And then once football starts, it's like, yeah, we're back type thing. But you know, I'm on the side of, you know, more football is better for everyone at the end of the day. I think one of my initial kind of, I guess, looks early on was obviously the broadcast, and that's always been the same for the XFL, the USFL, and you know, both I think the AAF and both of their renditions. I mean, the US just has such a huge, I guess, like bag to draw from when it comes to broadcasting partners, right? Like Fox Sports, ESPN, you know, all these different CBS, all these different, you know, media companies that are able to just broadcast and do an excellent, like, seamless transition. Like, I think when I first thought about when the XFL was coming, or in the USFL or these other spring leagues, I was like, oh, I wonder how, you know, it's going to be broadcasted. But they lined up these, you know, these awesome deals. And obviously there's not a whole lot of money in these marketing deals initially, just because these are startup leagues. But when you look at how it's broadcasted, it looks just like an NFL game. You know, they got almost all the different camera angles, you know, the different announcers, the, you know, in-game kind of, I guess, technology with the first downs and the, you know, the chips and the balls and everything like that. So I think if there is one thing that we can take from that, I think coming up from the CFL's end, is just how the game of football is broadcasted in the CFL or in the NFL and these other sports leagues in the US. And I guess how we can kind of adopt that, make it our own, and then, you know, mass produce it to not only Canada, but our US fans as well. I think one of the coolest things that I could think of is there a day where we see, you know, maybe in this next media deal that we have coming up here in the next 2 years, is there a day where we see a guy like Troy Aikman calling a CFL game, or, you know, just I mean, insert any of your favorite guys, Jim Nance, you know, those type of guys. Like, can we see them calling a CFL game maybe in the near future? And I think it's definitely a possibility, because the resources are there. I think the resources are definitely there for us to really invest in the broadcasting aspect of our game and just make it almost over deliver in a way, right? Like, at the end of the day, we're in the entertainment business. So, you know, I know TSN does a great job in terms of how they produce the game right now, but no different than myself as a football player or a team. Everyone's got to get better each year, right? And if you're not getting better, you're staying the same, and that's never a good thing in any business that you're doing. So I think if there is, you know, we have an easy sample that we can take from our friends down south and implement those things up north, you know, in Canada, and just make an overall better production, you know, of the game. But is there a way where maybe there's Fox Sports cameras that come up and they shoot their end, and you have the Fox Sports announcers in their own booth, you got the TSN announcers in their booth, and maybe our US fans are seeing just a different look, or maybe you can kind of switch between the broadcast. I don't know. I don't get paid enough to make those decisions, but I think there's always room for growth, and that's always been one of the things for me, is just the visuals of the league, you know, down in the NFL, how they've always just evolved year in and year out, and gotten better with how the production of the game is and how it's consumed. Is, again, I'm a big visual person. I love the productions of things and the back end and how things work. But if there's one thing we can take from that, it's definitely the production level. But I think the overall, I guess, competition level, it looked good from my end. You know, you got a bunch of guys that have played in the CFL or played in the NFL or played at Power 5 conferences, and, you know, they're not out there just because, or just to play football. They're out there because they truly love the game, just like the guys in the CFL, and they either want another shot in the NFL or they want to continue playing the sport they love as long as they can. So I think when you have that, just that raw emotion that's tied into the game of guys that truly love to play the game, you're always going to get the best competition level, the best plays. And seeing a guy like, Luis Perez,
Yeah.
making the first touchdown in all 3 consecutive spring leagues is like, what are the odds of that happening? I thought that was pretty cool to kind of watch that live and see a piece of football history.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned with the broadcast, I can speak from the CFL is they've implemented the kind of the spider cam. So
Yeah.
you see that like Wednesday or Thursday game week at McMahon, the guys will come in and they're. I mean, at McMahon, I think it's a special case just because of the build of the stadium. You have the giant kind of light posts, so you got guys kind of way up there
Yeah.
feeding down the spider cam. So I do think that from a broadcast level, like you can see the effort is there, and I mean, not to toot my own horn, but McMahon Stadium is some of the best sight lines in the league when you come to games. So if anyone listening's from Calgary, I better see you at McMahon this summer, especially on June. I think it's June 7th.
Yeah, I
Is
think June
Hamilton
7th
coming to
we'll be
town?
there. We'll be
So
there for
that'll be
that Hamilton victory. I'll be there.
that'll be, I don't know about that. I might have to stick a leg out on the sideline if you guys have a big play going. But in terms of back to the UFL, not to get too sidetracked with the shameless McMahon Stadium plug, but um, for leagues like the UFL and the AAF before it and the XFL and all of these spring leagues, the USFL last year, I know we saw McLeod Bethel Thompson leave as a Grey Cup winner, took off, went down south, and now he's back with Edmonton. But with kind of player movement like that, does a league like the UFL help or hurt the CFL in the sense that on one hand, not the spring league, the non NFL leagues kind of you want to see them kind of band together and all succeed, and the old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. If the
Yep.
UFL succeeds, it might help break that stigma of, oh well, non NFL leagues are below the NFL in terms of talent, production, et cetera, et cetera. So you
Right.
on one hand you want to succeed, on the other, you have kind of the limit of American talent coming up to the CFL because, like we saw with McLeod Bethel Thompson, you're kind of guys will want to stay home if they're American.
Right.
If they're not a national guy, the barrier to playing is that much more. And obviously, with the exchange rate, it can be
Yep.
tough to say, all right, well, I'm living in the U.S. 8 months out of the year. Is it worth kind of going up for or 6 months out of the year? Is it worth going up to Canada for 6 months, get paid Canadian, and then when I go back down, it's almost like I took a pay cut. So
Right.
there are pros and cons to both, obviously, but on the whole, do you see the UFL as being a net positive or kind of just adds more barriers to the CFL growing?
I think it's a little bit of both. A lot of it comes down to obviously, opportunities, roster size is one of them. The other one is obviously, like you said, the money, right? Making 55,000, which I think is the limit right now, the salary in the UFL, and everybody makes that. There's no different for quarterbacks, which I can't help but feel for guys like that because I have the similar experience. My rookie year, I made $36,000 after taxes Canadian. And that was before all my expenses. So you factor in rent, living, the day-to-day, you might eat out a couple times. And then when I bring it back to the US, I think I came back with maybe like 5,000 US dollars. So, yes, it's awesome. 6 months of football, that's all you got to do to work and awesome. That's great. But for a lot of guys, that don't have the ability to they got to work in the off season or whatnot. Some of these guys have full families they got to feed, and to make that much money, it's like, oh, like I don't know if I can really stay up here in Canada to wait it out until I get to my next contract, maybe, because a lot of these guys are you're fighting for that next contract. So I think the biggest thing is obviously it's going to come down to money. Right now, it's pretty even because 55,000 US after taxes compared to the 70 Canadian after taxes exchange rate is probably about the same. The other thing is you're only playing 10 games compared to playing 18 full CFL games, which are a lot. That CFL season is a lot longer. 8 more games on your body is a lot different. So yes, you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck, but again, like we kind of stated, the UFL is more of kind of like a feeder league to the NFL. until those salaries increase, until they make more money. It's not really able to be kind of your, hey, I'm going to go play in the UFL because like they're paying more than the CFL. I think until then, it's not really a big thing to really worry about. And the fact that they collapsed both leagues kind of, and shortened the teams, it does open up the player pool a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I think guys are going to sometimes make decisions that are based on the competitiveness of obviously the CFL being probably a little bit more competitive right now because it has that stronger, root system of, a historical league, and a lot of the NFL guys usually go there to get tape and come back. The UFL will start to obviously pull some of those guys, and I think it'll be an even split. But there's so many football players out there that I really don't think it's going to make that big of a difference at the end of the day. Because, again, you look at a guy like Qwantez Stiggers, who nobody knew who he was in the fan-controlled football league, came up to the CFL, and, is now going to be drafted in the NFL. So there are way too many football players, one, that can even be on an NFL roster, two, that can now be on a CFL roster. And I don't think the extra, I think 9 teams that are in the UFL or however many that are there, I don't think that's really going to, yes, it'll take away, there'll be a little bit more talent in the UFL now that can't go to the CFL, but I don't think it's enough of a factor right now with how many people are playing football to say, oh, the competition level in the CFL is just going to go downhill, or vice versa. The competition level in the UFL is just going to go downhill. Because you turn on any of those games, you turn on any CFL game, any UFL game, you can't tell me you don't see at least half the guys are Power 5, right? Or more, right? Like that are D1 guys that played at, you may have played in the SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, all these different, I know those leagues are now, or those conferences are now joining, but you can't say that you turn any of those on and you don't see high level of competition. And again, there's just so many guys. There's guys that I work out with every day that, played at USC or played at, entered Division I FBS college, and they don't have a job right now. So, and that's with the UFL and the CFL going. So there's so much talent. I don't think it's really going to be a problem for the CFL. And I think, again, the coexisting is only going to be better. And as long as the UFL continues to improve the salaries, the level of play, it just looks better on the CFL, and it's going to drive the CFL to compete as well. You're going to see the salaries in the CFL continue to raise, the production level and the CFL continue to raise, because, again, at the end of the day, competition just brings out the best in people. You see that in the game of football itself, right? If I don't compete and try to get better, like, I'm not going to get on the field, and I'm not going to be able to make plays on the field once I am there. So if I'm competing with someone that's, behind me or in front of me or next to me, it's only bringing out the best in both of us, because we're giving our all to be on the field and get our shot. So I think that's what you'll see in the CFL as well, the UFL, the NFL. As long as everyone's competing, it does nothing but good for the sport of football.
Yeah, and obviously competition kind of breeds, like you mentioned, that next level. So, like you mentioned with the UFL broadcast, if the CFL sees that and says we have some things to work on, it's going to get better.
Right.
And I think you're going to get rewarded for, like, the fans will get rewarded because of the competition. I do think that it is not a concern. Concern isn't the right word, but it is something to monitor of, okay, well, what happens to the American player pool? And are we
Right.
going to be losing out on guys like McLeod Bethel Thompson, if the next McLeod Bethel Thompson, so to speak, who
Right.
goes back down, and maybe this next quarterback or next American player who goes down doesn't come back up. And I do think that, I mean, personally, as a CFL fan, it's kind of taken for granted. Like, that's a huge deal that he went down to the US and is now back in the CFL, because that's
Right.
a Grey Cup winning, as far as he's
DB.
concerned, he's
Yep.
the defending Grey Cup
Yeah.
quarterback. No one has
Yeah.
beaten him to win a Grey Cup. And obviously
Yep.
we saw how successful Toronto was, but his last game, he won a Grey Cup. So,
Yep.
kind of, while that is a concern, I think fans are going to be rewarded by kind of competition, and I mean, basic economics. I didn't pay too much attention in high school, but yeah,
Yeah. Me too. Me
basic
too.
competition is good for the consumer. And speaking
Right.
of good for the consumer, I think we have some trading card packs to give away. Did I hear that right at the start of the episode?
Oh yeah, I think it's just about time. It's the perfect time to kind of transition over to our card break cam. Obviously, before we get officially over there, let's go ahead and run our little giveaway here. Let me show on the screen our lovely randomizer. Let's go ahead and get that up. Oh, would you look at that? So we know it's official. So obviously, as most everybody knows, and if you don't know, we ran a little giveaway on kind of all of our socials and all that good stuff. And we collected everybody that entered, and we're just going to throw them in this randomizer. I got all the names right here. And for me, because I like to be a little organized, I put the social media platform that they came from. That's kind of my little thing there. But we're gonna randomize them 9 times here for the 9 CFL teams, and whoever comes out on top, number 1, wins our. Put it on the side right here. A pack, just one single pack from the SP Game Used. It's incredible value, and you guys are going to love it. So let's randomize that right now. We got our first random again. That's 3, 4. Here we go. We're moving. We're moving now. I think that one was for the Stampeders. This one's for the Ticats. we're
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 right in the
almost
middle,
there. All right,
even
here
though
we go.
we would be 1-2.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe. Yeah. This is actually 9. This is probably for the Elks right here. I'm just kidding. I say that it could come back and bite me. But here we go. Number 9, and this is our winner, Lockless 35. That's awesome. So that is going to be our SP Game Used pack winner. And really quick, we also launched our official, I guess, website pack break entrance, and we have another break to do. Oh, look at that. We got our random.org does not want to work today. So really quickly, verifying that I'm a human, I am. We're going to do our little randomizer for the people that entered online for our 2 entrants. And this is going to be a divisions type break for our pack in the hobby box. So we got 2 entrants, 2 spots for this one. We'll throw them in right now. And basically how this one is going to work, again, I'm just going to randomize it 9 times really quick, and it's going to go in order. So whoever's in first gets the West Division. Whoever's number 2 gets the East Division. So let me go ahead and randomize that really quickly. I'll do it our special 9 times. I can actually do it quicker over here. And there we go. Oh, there we go. All right. So Jeffrey M., you are going to get all the West Division cards in that break. And Michael B., you are going to get all the cards in the East Division break. So congrats to you both. Again, if you guys want to enter, go to our website. We'll put a little link on the screen, stavroskatsantonis.com. And you guys can go check that out. Enter every week. We're trying to do our breaks every week. Luca, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about the breaks and kind of what we can expect each week in some of these packs.
Yeah, so as Stavros mentioned, we might later on. I'm sure we'll break the SP game used pack, but for now, obviously, we're starting with the hobby box. What you're doing is you're paying shipping on the cards. Obviously, we had 2 people join the break this week, so through the randomization, they get 2 divisions. If we go, you guys let us know if you'd rather do kind of limited at 2, and that way you're getting way more bang for your buck, or if we get 9 people in, then each entrant gets a team. We'll roll the break at this point of every episode, and then Upper Deck so kindly provided it, and we'll be sending the cards your way. Breaks are a lot of fun, and it's exciting. It simulates the feeling of opening a pack without necessarily needing to spend pack money. So a lot of opportunities to really make some money on the breaks. But that being said, the breaks aren't guaranteed. If for whatever reason a break doesn't go your way, I'm sure we'll send you something as a
We'll
make
take
good.
care
But
of you. We will
exactly.
take care of you. I promise.
But it is a gamble at the end of the day, so we don't want to guarantee anything. But kind of when you're dealing with a hobby box and SP game use, these are kind of the top of the line CFL packs. So stay tuned in future weeks as we'll kind of explain more about how the breaks will go and what they'll look like. But I mean, you're watching the inaugural one right now, so I think without further ado, let's get right into it.
Let's go. And I think we saved the best for last. We'll do our hits here at the end. Let's go ahead and get into this little hobby box. Let's see what these first couple packs kind of have for us. And I know some people don't like the the box cutter on the box, but hey, you know what? This is my break, so we're gonna do it my way or the highway. I don't even think I actually got a hole in it. But Luca, are you just are you kind of itching when you see a box cutter go into a thing of cards?
No, I'm not as much. I mean, I'm usually, the box looks like a dog got a hold of it once I get a box of cards, just because I'm just shaking with excitement. And I don't want to find a box cutter. I don't even know that I have one in my apartment, but I think because we're sending the cards themselves, I think it's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. And like you said, it's your logo behind it, so you get to call the shots here.
Yeah. Let's make sure we get we'll get our Geno Lewis plug. We'll do this the right way. And try not to just absolutely rip the box, which I'm doing because it's not punching out, but that's okay. Might be struggling a bit here. There we go. We got, see, now we're official. We got our guy Geno showing up here. Okay, so we're gonna break. I think I'm gonna break this pack right away. So this is the only pack we'll be breaking today. Again, if you want to enter in these moving forward, make sure you guys go to our website, StavrosKatsantonis.com, or any of the link in the bios on our socials so you guys can join in these each week. Again, there's only going to be 2 spots for right now each week, and those are going to be division breaks, so you'll be able to pick your division, or it might be random. I haven't decided yet, but let's get into this. Let's see what we got here. Hopefully we have a nice little hit in here. There we go. I'm already kind of shaking right now, Luke. I'm very interested to see kind of what we got here.
Of course, we're starting off with the Elks.
Oh yeah, there we go. So we got an Elks right away. So for our West Division, I'm just gonna put that how I would on a map. So I'll put it to the left. So we got a Mark Corte or Mark Cordy again. Great offensive lineman in the CFL. Played at the University of Alberta. I actually played, I think, just about every year of my college career against him when I was at UBC.
He also had his own pro day. Fun little piece of trivia for you.
He did. Fun little fact. So that's a cool little upper deck card that we got of him. We'll throw that to the left. Oh, this is a good one. A base David Menard. That's a nice little card that we have right there. I believe he's still on the BC Lions, if I'm not correct, with this latest free agency, right?
I believe so, yes.
Former Montreal Alouette. Another hit for the West. Oh my goodness, our West side is just hitting a James Wilder Jr. Base Edmonton card. That's a good one. Good running back from Florida State. Ooh. Our BC fans will. I mean, is this a West box, Luca? Is this just a West pack that we're hitting right now?
I hope not. We promised some East players, so hopefully we get into some East guys soon.
Yeah, that would be nice. So we got Keon Hatcher, big star receiver out in BC, just re-signed out there. Congrats to him. Oh my goodness. Well, we got a nice little CFL greatness card. Bo Lacumbo. That's a good one. We'll go ahead and we'll throw that in a little sleeve right now because that is a very interesting one right here. But that is one of our, I guess we'll call that a little micro hit if you want to call it that. and it only gets better in terms of the hit on this side. Another West card. But look at this. We have a high gloss Zach Kalaros QB card, a fellow Greek in the league, good friend of mine. I mean, I would say right there, I mean, you got that nice gloss on it. It's not serial numbered, but it is one of those more rare cards. I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to sleeve that one right now and put it in a top loader as well. And that's going to show off our next card as well. This might be the first ever just full on West hit. This is not looking
This is
good for our
uncanny.
East player.
We might have to do another pack at this rate, although we run the risk of another full West pack if we do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would be just fine doing that. So there we go. I'll throw that one right there just so we have it in the background there. That's a pretty cool card. I need to probably get some stands. That would probably be a good idea, huh, Luca? That was my next order thing, but I haven't. Okay, this is a pretty big hit, I feel like, right here. We have a Kenny Lawler exclusives 59 out of 100. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. That's a pretty cool card to have. Again, our West Division lottery guy is just cleaning up right now. Okay, we have our first East, so it's not an entire miss for those guys. So let me just throw this one in a sleeve and a top loader real quick, just so we get that. If someone does want to get this graded, it's officially going in and getting protected right away. Not getting too abused by my oily fingers. So there we go. We got that one right there. That's a cool one. Okay, we got Sam Ashampong from the Toronto Argos. Our first
East is on the board.
Our first East is on the board. Maybe this is the first of many. We will see. Oh, and it is not. We go right back out west. A Dietrich Nichols Winnipeg Blue Bombers card. That's a really good one right there for our Bombers fans out there. Oh my goodness! It is a BC. It's also just all BC cards. I feel like we've hit a bunch of BC cards. We got Tim Bonner, Last Chance U star for those of you that watched that Netflix documentary series. He's been pretty good. I think this one also says Elks, but it's when he had his BC jersey on when he was with the Lions. So again, it would still go to the West winners. Oh, here we go. We got an Avery Williams. It says Alouettes. He's currently with the Red Blacks. Obviously, it would still go to our East fan anyways. They're both East teams, but this one does say Alouettes. He's a great linebacker, CFL rep for Ottawa when he was with them. Great dude. Had the pleasure to talking to him and just chalking up another great defensive mind in the league. So let's see our last one here. Gosh, is this a BC Lions pack, Luca? What is going on?
It must be.
Marcus Sales. Marcus Sales. I don't know. Should we break one more? Should we leave it?
Yeah,
at that?
why
What
not?
do you think? Why not? We got to give.
It'd be
we gotta
rude
give
not
our
to.
fans. You got to give our fans what they want here. So let's see if we can get an all East pack. I don't think I've ever seen that. And I've broken a few packs before. I don't think I've ever seen it where they're almost all the West. And look at that. We already got an East. So there's a guaranteed East in here, even though this QB is currently with the Calgary Stampeders. But that's okay. Okay, well, we start right off.
Starting with the West.
We're starting off with the West. Taylor Cornelius threw me my first pick 6. Shout out to him. Appreciate you, man. That's just healthy banter, guys. Just healthy banter. And we're back at it with BC. Jordan Williams. Actually, no. So as you guys can see, this card does say Toronto Argonauts. This is taken when he's in his BC jersey, but I'm giving this, and I think it's fair to credit this to the East side, okay? We have a former Rookie of the Year, my current new teammate, Jordan Williams, says Toronto Argonauts. That's going to our East division there. I think that's fair, Luca. Do you not?
Yeah, that's fair.
And then we got Kent Perkins, O-lineman, BC. We're throwing that to the West. And then here we go. Speaking of, we got a CFL greatness, McLeod Bethel Thompson. That is a good one. We'll go ahead and we'll put that in a nice little sleeve and top loader, just because it's a nice card. And we'll see the next one too. Oh my goodness. Let me see what we have on this next one. That is this next card, as you guys can already see, is our most outstanding Canadienne, Brady Oliveira. And what better way to get it than a high gloss edition? What do you think about that one right there? And we also this might be one of the most rare cards I've ever seen, Luca. And I don't know if you can see this, but do you see our East Division Most Outstanding Canadian in the background. This might be a 2-in-1 card.
Double hit.
That's double hit. That's Marc-Antoine Dequoy in the background with Brady Oliveira. 2 Most Outstanding Canadians in their respective divisions. If only it had his name on it, it would go to the East. But again, that's a great pull. We'll go ahead and, again, we'll sleeve that one, put it in a top loader. Oh, my goodness. It's a Blue Bomber pack. It's a Blue Bomber pack.
I don't know what's going on with the East right now.
The East is struggling. The East is struggling right now. But, again, that's how these breaks work. They're totally random. We can't control who's in the packs. Upper Deck doesn't tell me, even though I kind of wish they did. We'll just stack that over there. Looky here. The steamin' Willie Beeman, Willie Jefferson, one of the CFL's best defensive players year in and year out. Somehow always leads the league in bat downs. It kind of upsets a lot of DBs out there, but you know what? For a good reason. You got his jersey patch card from their away jersey, it looks like, and just amazing. That's a really cool card. A great hit. That's going to get sleeved right away. Let me see. Is this a 1-of-1 card? I don't see a serial number on it, so I would assume there's not too many of these out there. Luca, what do you think?
I don't think it's 1-of-1, but it's definitely a good card to have.
Yeah, great card. Let's get that in our our bigger sleeve, because this is a bigger card. And let's get my little handy dandy bigger top loader. And we'll toss that in there. And that might be our new piece de resistance right there. Winnipeg and BC. Here we go. We have another East hit. Nick Arbuckle with the Red Blacks. Former Stampeder, Luca. So I know this might be a card of value to you. Oh, and we got a checklist. I'll just, you know what? Since the East hasn't won anything, I'll throw that to the right. This next card holds a near and dear place to my heart. My guy, Tunde Adeleke, currently with the Argonauts right now. Great dude that I've been able to play with and learn from these last 3 years that I was in Hamilton. A guy that is going to ball out, hit you, make plays week in and week out. So, again, that's a cool card right there that you're getting on the East, Tunde Adeleke. And it's followed up with a back-to-back Ticats. Former Ticat quarterback Matthew Schultz. Again, Luca, you might have to sneak this one out of the shipping for yourself, because he is now a Calgary Stampeders quarterback. But again, Matt Schultz, one of the top quarterbacks that I've seen play in the CFL, can just run the ball like no other and sling it as well. So wishing him nothing but the best in Stamps Town, or I guess would it be Cowtown? Is that what they refer to it as out there? Cowtown, yeah. So wishing nothing but the best in Cowtown. Hopefully Luca can take him out to the Calgary Stampede and give him a good time. Yeah. So there we go. That was our break for the East and West divisions. Now, I'll leave these out just so we can enjoy them as fans. Let's get into our final break of the day, the SP game used, and let's see what we can get out of here. I think, and these are, guys, again, these are all guaranteed, jersey patches, auto cards, CFL greatness, that type of thing. So you're going to get some really good cards in these boxes. Again,
and this is our giveaway winner.
Oh, yeah, this is our giveaway winner right here. I'm just going to pull this front one right here so everyone can see. So we have a fair and even selection here. So, all right. You know what? I think what I'm going to do here, Luca, just to make it a little bit more ominous, I'm going to put these kind of in a place so they can't really be seen. So we can really get into the, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Matt Schultz card. He's going to be kind of like our little secret hider. So let me try to keep this as secret as I can, so it really builds up the hype. I think anyone that can see the mirrored reflection knows that this first card is going to be a Saskatchewan Roughriders card. But here we go. Card draw number 1. We have ourselves a Keon Schaefer-Baker jersey. It looks like his jersey or maybe his pants. I don't know. That is a very cool one right there, though. So let's go ahead and let me slide my Matt Schultz back here. We only have two. Oh, there's a third one in there. Let me slide this Matt Schultz divider card. He's going to be our secret guy, so I can get this in a nice little sleeve and top loader and get it nice and protected for our fans out there. But shout out to our giveaway winner for just coming in with an instant nice hit right off the bat. That's pretty.
And two more to go.
Cool. Two more to go. Two more to go. So let's see if I can get that to stand up next to Willie. Come on. Give me something here. All right. There we go. That'll work. Okay. Here we go. We have our next card. Oh, baby. We have a recently retired signed Brian Burnham card. Nice little auto card there. Yeah, got the nice logo. It looks like it's the sticker auto, which is confirmed to be autographed by the players. I've seen these all the time. We get to autograph these, so that is a cool pull. Again, though, Luca, I don't know if you noticed, but we are still hitting West teams somehow.
There must be a bias.
Some way. There's got to be, okay? So, again, we'll get that into, I think this is more of a less thick card, so we can throw it into one of these nice little top loaders, the penny sleeves, and then just throw it into a skinny top loader, and it should be fine. Because we want to make sure that we don't bend these cards or catch an edge or anything like that. We want to make sure they stay in pristine condition for, our entrance, so that if they do decide to go get them graded, they are in pristine condition. So we'll set him right there as everybody else falls over. That's okay. So here we go, Luca. We have our final card of the day. Do we get an East victor? Do we? I'm gonna try not to peek as much as I can. Oh my goodness.
The BC break.
Holy. I mean, I don't think I've seen more BC breaks. We got a Gary Peters, again, another jersey, and this is their fog uniforms that they just brought out this past season. So that's a pretty cool one to hit right away. But wow, just talk about just hitting every single West team and mostly either BC or Bomber teammates. So again, wow, what an amazing victory there. But wow, that's awesome. So I think what you guys obviously saw here was some cool breaks. Again, we want to try to do these every week. So if you guys are able to, definitely get in and sign up, on the website so you guys can win. Like, look at these awesome cards. We got auto cards, we got patch cards, we got gloss cards. You got them all, and they're going to get shipped to you, and you're going to be able to enjoy them as CFL fans. So again, just an awesome pull, Luca. What do you think of all these cool pulls from today?
Yeah, I mean, the patches are one thing. Obviously, the auto is incredible. The Kenny Law, I think it seems a bit West heavy, so we might have to switch up how we do the breaks, and we'll definitely take care of our East Side participant, just because it seemed like the odds were stacked against him. But as we move forward, there'll just be more cards to break. Who knows? Maybe one day we feel generous. Maybe start of the CFL season, we'll break an entire box of the SP game used just to get that excitement for the CFL year. But I mean, getting into the hobby is never a bad thing. It's always a ton of fun, and especially when you're pulling Willie Jefferson patch cards. It's hard to frown at that.
No, yeah, you can't complain at any of those. And like I said, we'll definitely take care of our East patron there, and make sure you get a couple more cards thrown in there, in your little ship in there. But again, I think that kind of brings us to the end of our episode. I think we've spoken about just about everything that we could have. But again, we just want to thank everybody for checking out today's episode, wherever you're watching it. If you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google, any of those things, make sure to subscribe wherever you are. And again, if you want to watch the video version, check us out on YouTube, turn on those post notifications, just do what you guys do. And we'll see you guys in our next episode 4 coming next week. Maybe another break. We will see. I hope we do get that filled out, so we can keep bringing that fun and exciting segment to you guys. Again, a huge shout out to Upper Deck for sponsoring that for us. And again, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.